Good morning, everybody. This is another edition of the Passed Ball Show, brought to you, of course, by JohnPielli.com, as well as St. Aloysius Church and School in Jackson, New Jersey. Big night in the NBA, and I got to be honest, you look back at the ratings of the game last night, they had to be through the roof. I'm sure everybody was interested, and there was a little discussion I heard yesterday talking about the ratings of the NBA as it applies to other sports, and what is the reason that so many people tune in. And you look back at the history of the NBA, one of the things that have stood out, certainly in a better part of my lifetime, and certainly in generations before me. The NBA always seems to have a team that is dominating the sport, or a couple teams that are towards the top that are competing with each other. The parity that you see as it exists in baseball, and really for the exception of the New England Patriots in football. Think about the National Football Conference. It's pretty much up for grabs every year what team is going to go to the Super Bowl or have a chance to get to the Super Bowl. And what we're seeing in the NBA now is not brand new. I mean, obviously, the first time in the history of professional sports you've seen the same two teams play for a championship 4 years in a row, which is something that we're not going to see again, or we're likely to not see again. So that's fascinating in itself. But my question is, what is it that draws people to the NBA? Because I do think that's something that has to be discussed. It's a good sport. It's fun to watch. I agree. It's probably the easiest sport to duplicate in regards to playing. You can watch a little on TV. You can go out there. You can grab a ball. You don't even need a net. You don't even need a rim. Just grab a ball in a garbage can or something. So it's very easy to play. It's very easy to duplicate. But people come out in droves to watch the NBA, whether it's in person or on TV. And obviously the ratings that exist for the NBA in the finals, where you figure people would be tired of after a while. Tired of watching the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers for the fourth straight year. But if you check the ratings in regards to America, a lot of people tuned in. And I tell you, if you didn't watch the game last night, you missed out on a lot, because it wasn't as many could have expected. And LeBron James had obviously a performance of performances. I think this was his biggest big game effort and performance and numbers and the whole thing that we've ever seen before. And a lot of people expected that the Warriors would just kind of take it to the Cavaliers and it wouldn't be much of a series. I don't know. I mean, I do think people's minds waver based off of what happened last night. And that happens a lot in professional sports, if you think about it. You may say, hey, the Cavaliers have no chance. And if the Cavaliers had somehow or for some reason won last night, you'd say, hey, it's going to be a different series now. Now, I think based off of the performance of the Cavs, I think it's very easy to see how they can compete with the Warriors. The problem is that they just have, Golden State just has way too much depth. I mean, to have Durant, to have Curry, to have Klay Thompson, and it's like the third time I called him Trey instead of Clay, but I could deal with it. Draymond Green obviously plays very good defense. Iguodala is going to be able to come back hopefully for Game 2. There's a depth issue that exists, and that's why a lot of people are picking the Golden State Warriors to win. Now, we've watched and followed LeBron James over the last, what we've talked about, probably about 15 years now, since he came out of that high school in Ohio, in Akron, Ohio, and was the number 1 overall pick by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Instantaneously made that team better. They made it to the NBA Finals in 2007, and obviously if you followed the trek of LeBron James from his 4 straight years with the Miami Heat getting to the NBA Finals in the last 4 years since he's been back with the Cleveland Cavaliers, has gotten back to the NBA Finals, it is very polarizing. And people will either love LeBron James or they're going to hate LeBron James. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's any issue with people that don't like LeBron James, maybe want to compare him to different players of different generations, or may just simply want to see him lose. And it's been very prevalent over the last several years that, LeBron hater has kind of come out to the forefront in regards to wanting to see LeBron James fail, wanting to see LeBron James once again not win the NBA championship, so there's something that could be held against him. And this is something that's going to continue to exist. However, the way the script is kind of turned, LeBron, those that hate LeBron, and that, so-called heel that he has turned, people are coming back, and he's being revered now. He's being looked at more of a hero. And based off of his roster, the way it's set up, his supporting cast, which we know he doesn't have very much of, he is being very much revered by the fans. Fans are rooting for him now. And if you put out a poll and say, hey, how many people want to see LeBron James and the Cavaliers win the NBA Finals over the Golden State Warriors, you'd get a certain amount of people that would say, hey, I don't care. I'm tired of seeing Warriors-Cavs. But I bet you would have more people that aren't tied to one of the two teams. In other words, we're talking about somebody that's not a Golden State Warriors fan, somebody that's not a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, people in the middle that are NBA fans watching the NBA Finals. I'm sure you would find a higher percentage of people that are rooting for LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it goes back to that feeling of that underdog type of mentality, which LeBron James has never really had before. Who has ever doubted LeBron James? When he came out of high school, when he burst on the scene with the Cavaliers, he became instantaneously one of the top 5 or 10 players in a game in his rookie season. Gradually became the very best player in the game, and right now you could consider him the best player of this generation and one of the top players, if not the top player, in all of NBA history. So there's no underdog story involved there. There's no reason to say, hey, LeBron James has things stacked against him. It's anybody else that would be playing against the Cleveland Cavaliers or anybody else that has to guard or worry about stopping LeBron James that would be considered the underdog. Now we've watched the Golden State Warriors over the past